Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Accuracy in America, brought to you by Accuracy in Academia. And I'm Don Irvine, host, and by my co-host, who is not in Virginia, Brian McNichol. Now, we don't know what McNichol is, but
another V state. I'm in Vermont, so it's pretty cool.
Are you headed somewhere?
We're headed to into New York State to watch some more baseball. We left on a basketball trip, and then we've converted to baseball, and now we're going around watching baseball games.
That's good.
For vacation.
All right, so I don't know if I may echo throughout the show, but I don't know why.
Okay.
You remember when we had like thumbs up and all that stuff before?
Yep.
Yeah. So that apparently disappeared when I updated my Google browser. And it disappeared. And I'm like, okay, stuff just happens in technology, right? It comes in.
Amen, brother.
I don't know why. All right. Yeah, I thought maybe you were making your way up or something.
We might come pretty close to there. Might be worth dropping in again. I've been there 2 or 3 times.
It's so crowded.
There's so much to see. Like every time I go, I feel like I spent a lot of time on something that wasn't, what I came to see. So I really do need to go camp there a little bit and take it all in.
Okay. Well, since we last met, it's been an interesting week, right? We talked last week, the day before the big debate. And
we did not predict what would happen.
Not at all.
No, nobody did.
Yeah. Nobody predicted that at all, right? Oh yeah. I don't know. I mean, is that something that winds up being worse because the Democrats are in the media in so much denial? I mean, what the heck? What the heck happened here?
See, well, what I've been saying is. The worst thing about this for the Democrats is not that Joe stumbled, right? They've sort of baked in that. They've all decided they're going to vote for him anyway, and that we should too. But we were lied to, right? You told us one thing, media told us one thing, you're all on the same page, and it is categorically not true, right? And it's like it's a thing Americans can understand. A lot of these things that we talk about, policy arguments. The big problem a lot of times is that the people don't understand the policy arguments, right? So it's kind of hard to, have an argument with people who don't understand what you're talking about. But this is one that everyone could see that Joe was glitching, that, when he said stuff, it didn't really have a lot of meaning, that he couldn't connect sentences or thoughts or concepts. And, you got to hand it to Trump. Trump behaved himself. He did this exactly right. He did not leap on Joe. He let Joe talk as long as he wanted to talk. I was telling you, one thing I did predict was they have this rule. They think they've got Trump in a box with these rules, right? And the rules ended up working very much in Trump's favor. He didn't have, since he was not allowed to interrupt, he just waited till the end of Biden's, yammering and stammering. So you wouldn't have heard all that lengthy stuff, right? In the 2020 debates, because Trump would have jumped in and said, "What are you talking about, Joe?" Right? And he would have gone on the thing, and the camera would have been watching Trump run his mouth instead of Biden glitch, right? This one, there was no saving Biden. He just had to sit there for his 2 minutes. And one thing, it was funny, we were laughing about it. At the end of this, one constant of political debates is that the candidates run over their time, right? If you got a minute to talk, they have about a minute and a half of stuff to say, right? You got to shut up, time's up, next guy, right? But this was Mr. Biden, you have 49 seconds of your 2 minutes left. You got anything else to say? I mean, they said that a bunch of times. He didn't use his time. Trump didn't use all his time a lot of times either. But it also, because you didn't let Trump speak, right? You shut him up, didn't let him interrupt, right? So Trump just sat there waiting on, Biden to finish, and it gave him all the time in the world to think up zingers. And Trump is really good at the zingers, right? So, he said the one thing, he goes, and we beat Medicare. And Biden's like, Trump's like, yeah, you beat it to death. I mean, that's a free knockout line. And, that's all anybody's going to remember about what got said there is that he got hammered. So, it was a bad night for Biden in a lot of ways. Me and MK were driving up to Pennsylvania. So we listened to it on the radio. So we didn't see it, right? But we're hearing it, and I'm like, they lie about this, right? You know that the media has the story written. Biden pummels Trump in debate, much more up on issues, doesn't want to be a dictator, all that kind of stuff, right? But when I'm listening to this, I'm like, man, I don't know, how much they can spin this, right? I'm anxious to hear like them come off and say, well, Biden looked strong tonight, and how they explain that he looked strong when he clearly did not, right? And then as soon as it ended, like, that was a bad night for Biden. And I'm like, oh, the knives are out. So from, the Democrats have a complaint that, the media turned against them over one debate. The media dropped them like a bad cold after, he had a bad debate performance. They say just one night. No, we all know that, it's a lot more than just one night, and that they've had a lot of trouble with him glitching and walking off of stuff, and is getting noticed by more and more people that they didn't want it getting noticed. Now you have people in the White House saying, yeah, we've been watching this and trying to get them to do something about it for a long time, and it's not our first rodeo either, and all this kind of stuff. But the fact of the business is, America saw in incontrovertible, unarguable terms for the first time what we've been telling them for a long time. So what America is finding out now is the stories the Democrats have been telling you do not really track with the truth, but the stories in a lot of cases that the Republicans have been telling you do. So I think that's part of the seismic shift here.
Yeah, what I noticed, you see the CNN poll right afterwards, right? 2-1, that Trump wins. That in of itself is a telling mark, and just pouring on everything that happened with all the other people I meet. I kind of scanned some of the other websites, Politico, The Herald. It was almost like, what happened here? We're shocked. We're stunned. We can't believe that this actually happened to the president. We thought he was better than that. They haven't been paying attention, or in the other cases, or
keep talking, Don.
Yeah,
never happened.
That's what happens when you go live.
That's right.
They haven't been paying attention.
Poor kid is sentenced to lie flat in bed for an hour.
Yeah.
Do not move.
They've been in a cover-up mode, right? They've been covering for this guy.
That's right.
They got their hands caught in the cookie jar with all of this stuff. And so, but the backtracking, all this stuff that's going on, you're seeing how the Biden people are just struggling, right? Remember when Karine Jean-Pierre before said, 80s to move 40. What does that, what does that mean now? Joe Scarborough, who was such a defender before, it's like disastrous debate. So you start having these problems now in the Democratic Party where they're now sucking up all the headlines for the most part. It's just like, what's going on here? What are we going to do? I think you probably benefited by just listening to it, because the facial reaction is something, but when you listen to it without seeing the facial reaction, you actually can probably concentrate more and say, okay, let's see what the points they're making and stuff like that. Interesting point you make about how they're not doing all their time. I think one of the reasons that this happened is that just as you said, the rules played in their favor, Trump's favor. He feeds off an audience.
Yeah,
and I think that's part of the debate thing is that the debate tends to go, because they have those live audiences in the past. That's why they rip a lot, and that's why you have these extra time things all the time. Well, this is a lot more discipline, and Trump who we weren't sure how this one he could be, stayed on message. And I think that shocked a lot of people. They're like, okay, he couldn't speak because the mic was turned off. He only could focus on Biden and the issues. And they wound up making a debate that was almost tailor-made for Trump and a complete disaster for Biden because Biden has no teleprompter. What the heck is he going to do? I mean, as Trump says, when he says, I don't know what he just said, and neither does America. Neither does the media. They don't know what the heck he said half the time. It's like he trails off and these things.
That was a great line. I don't know what he's talking about. And I don't think he does either. I mean, that was that was kind of a knockout blow there. And it was it's one that you wouldn't have gotten, it wouldn't have had the standalone quality that it did without Trump being kept in his box. Their plan was to not debate. Their plan was to make the rules so onerous that Trump would say, how about we change this? No, Trump wants to chicken out. He's not willing to do it under the rules, right? So Trump's like, sure, whatever. I'll see you there. They're like, gulp. We're not really ready for that. So, and they weren't, and Biden wasn't ready. You could tell, for all the, they spent 9 days preparing for 90 minutes, and he wasn't ready. He didn't understand the questions. He didn't understand the answers. And he gave you a lot of really bad information. I will also say we're 2/3 of the way towards debate reform on this, right? For one thing, the moderators, they overperform. You have to admit the questions were questions Americans wanted the answers to. They were not particularly mean or gotcha in quality. They were open ended. Tell us how you're going to handle problem X or problem Y. And pointing out you failures in the past and so forth. So, you had they made for an interesting debate. They gave them good stuff to talk about, and they were not obtrusive. That's one of the things that, if you go on X, the Democrats are livid that CNN moderators didn't, quote, fact check Trump, right? Well, if there'd been an honest fact checker there, it had a hell of a lot more to say to Biden than they would to Trump, right? Biden he went down that list of hoaxes pretty thoroughly. He very fine people hoax, losers and suckers hoax, 3 or 4 more too. He had, he laid out all the lies that he normally tells to make his case for voting against Trump. And it's interesting, Trump's case against Biden is, the economy failed. That's pretty easy to prove. Foreign policy is a hot mess. That's pretty easy to prove. The border's a catastrophe. That's pretty easy to prove. Their case against him is he's mean and he will end democracy, and we don't need mean tweets, and the rest of the world doesn't like it. I don't really care what the rest of the world likes, and they'll learn to like it, right? Like they did last time.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing here. Biden was the one who issued the challenge, right? So the Democrats can't even say that it was really unfair. I mean, they're the ones that called for this debate. They're the ones that helped kind of set the ground rules. Trump, a lot of Republicans complaining that Trump was giving too much away on the rules.
Oh, I know. They're they were saying, he shouldn't even do this debate. He should refuse. I'm like, first of all, no. There was no chance that ever at any point in this that refusing to do the debate was the right strategy, right? If you're going to get called a chicken, and he's Trump. He, his faith and his ability to handle this is virtually limitless, right? I mean, he doesn't care what the rules are. He's like, I know how to debate. I will be debating.
And as far as the fact checking goes, the New York Times and other media, they were ready. They were ready. They did their own fact checking and whatnot. And so, the Democrats, they were trying to spin this after this disastrous, performances. But Trump lied. Look at all the lies that he told during that. I don't get really too worked up about stuff that Trump says, because we've been used to hearing Trump say this for a long time.
Well, but here's the thing, like. So, someone told Trump, for instance, that in the abortion debate, right? They brought up Roe. They talked about it. Trump said, they all said that this was bad law. Okay. And that's what they count as one of their big lies, because Trump said that over and over. They all of them agreed that this was bad law. This needed to be changed. That's not true. Some of them thought it was good law, right? But what they told Trump, and which is true, is that Ruth Bader Ginsburg said it was bad law. And it's the same problem with that as you have with, Obergefell and, Loving and all those like social justice for gays, contraception, all this stuff laws. The basis of all that lawmaking by the Supreme Court, and that's what it was, is it was suspicious from the start, right? They didn't think it would stand scrutiny from the start. That is what Ruth Bader Ginsburg tried to tell them. So when you give that to Trump, you say to Trump, even Ruth Bader Ginsburg was against this. Okay, Trump, in Trump's brain, he doesn't really know, right? If she's against it, they're all against it, right? They must all be against it, because she's the farthest left one, And so he says, oh, they're all against it. They're not all against it. So that's a lie, I suppose. It's more like a mistake. But that's what they talk about. When you're talking about Trump's lies, that's what they're talking about. That level of, not really understanding what he's saying.
Yeah, I think we've watched Biden and Trump long enough to notice that Trump can retain a tremendous amount of information in his head. He'll say some things that may not be quite right, but he can go. Right? He can talk. He's got lots of stuff in his head. Joe Biden can't do that. So
he doesn't have lots of stuff in his head. I mean, I don't say he's a total idiot or whatever. But like, for instance, another one that comes up on that is drinking bleach, right? Trump did not tell anybody to drink bleach, but he was talking about, someone had told him that, one of the treatments was essentially bleaching out the infection, right? That was the process that was used for it, right? So Trump, he's not going to make that scientific delineation of what they meant by bleaching it out, right? So he's like, yeah, you could, what he said, like, he says to drink bleach. No, he never said to drink bleach, right? He said that could be, if you go watch what happened, and if you go, and the other thing about that one is, that always kills me, is when they show that speech, that was a Saturday morning press conference, right? So there weren't a whole lot of people there. They show that speech. They show Birx, right? Deborah Birx. She was the Fauci's number 2 or whatever. And she was in on the lady with the scarves, right? And she's like, what's he talking about? Trump was farther down the road in hearing that and light therapy, which is now being used on COVID patients. He knew about the future of this and how this would be treated more than Birx, right? More than the establishment scientists who we've been paying for 40 years to get us ready for this, right? So, he, like you say, he hears things, like he doesn't, type it all up and ask a whole lot of questions, but there's a lot of info in his head because he is talking to people and thinking about stuff and new ways out of problems and so forth. And Biden is very much shackled by, the leftist approach to problem solving, which is, more government, bigger budget, 15,000 meetings to decide what to do.
Yeah, look, these two guys are relatively close in age, but there is a huge difference in their mental acuity at this point, I think.
Yeah.
I think anybody can see that, and that debate only just focused more on that. Look, I know as I get older, I will sometimes grasp for words. This is part of the aging process, My wife,
these girls, they coach basketball, right? And I like try to take them out of the game or put them in the game, and I can't think of their names. They're looking at me like I am Hannah. Yeah. Hannah is me.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, we've got like 160 missionaries from any one time in this mission that I'm working with, right?
Right.
I know there's no way I know all their names. I've met most of them when they came and they started their service and stuff like that. But But if I don't, I need several times to look at their name tags to get a lot of times to get names and faces together because there's so many. Now, the mission president who is younger, a little younger, he has to know them, right? So he studied all this stuff and do all this. And I'm like, man, as I'm getting older, the name and the face together is getting harder.
Yeah. It's very hard.
So imagine, and everybody's different. So Trump is doing magnificently well for someone his age. Biden, unfortunately for him, is not. And so, even the scores that came out, while they kind of ensconced him to do this debate prep, the scores that I heard, they would do some debate prep and then take some naps, and then go back. I think Biden does have a real limit compared to Trump as to how much information can store in that noggin. That he can retain, and that was shown.
It's not just retain; it's use. It's like when you do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I knew what the problem was.
Right. Yeah. The other thing is, he makes a point here is like, the sort of the next phase of this is what's happening now, right? And so the reaction has been, there's a lot of backlash on Jill. It's like, you guys shouldn't have let Jill run your party. She didn't know anything about running a political party. I'll put her in charge. Results are not not optimal. Maybe you think about, why you put Jill in charge of your party.
And what was that thing with him? It's like, you did so well, you answered all the questions. It's like, what is it, 5 years
and she walked him off the stage, so he wouldn't fall and wipe out. I mean, you can't do that, right?
I don't know.
Okay, so so we continue along here. Huh? Go ahead.
He did better when he went to Raleigh for the campaign stop, but I'm also looking at Dr. Jill there, and she's wearing that vote vest, and I'm like, what is this? Where does that come from? As someone as old as I am, all I could think of was the Riddler from Batman.
I'll tell you what. I will just say I don't like to get into the wives, right? Because in most cases they didn't really choose this life. The Democrats are always criticizing Melania because she's not, by Trump's side every second. But Melania does. She didn't sign up for this life, right? He did. She's made a deal with him where, you go do what you need to do, honey, and I'll be here when you're done. And that's what they did. And I don't know why people find fault with that. We all make things work in our marriages, right? That wouldn't seem to be workoutable. And but her thing is, Jill's thing is, she's a very different person in that marriage. She wants that spotlight. She sees it as, she's running the country, right? She's right next to the guy who's running the country, and you really can't go against what she thinks, right? So now I think the Democrats are saying we can. There's supposed to be a meeting today, 25 or 30 House Democrats who are going to ask Biden to step aside. It'll be about an hour from now they're supposed to start. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. They're under a lot of pressure to stop, to get out of the race. Okay, if he gets out of the race, then the question comes: should he continue to be president? I think my personal opinion is they're freaking out too much. It's a bad news cycle. It's a bad week of news cycles over this debate, right? And some of the injuries that it has inflicted on Biden can't be undone, right? He won't recover from. But he's still better than anybody else they have to run against Trump. He's still better than Kamala. He's still better than Gavin Newsom, Beth Warren, Bernie, whoever they want to choose. He's still the best polling, the best example, and the best. They come out. The Democrats are all like, he's such a decent man. It's like, he's not a decent man. He's one of the most immoral people who's ever held that office. But he does have them thinking that. So if they think that, then that is what they should do. If I were advising them, I would say, build back Joe, get Joe back on the right track. I don't see how you can vote for 4 more years of Joe. I don't see how anybody who has any understanding of the aging process at all looks down the road 4 years and sees this as viable. But if you want to win the election today and sort out all that later, Biden's probably your best option.
Yeah, I think Biden. I think he could live another 4 years. But up here, that's a whole different thing.
Right. You're saying 2 years of this thing is going to be run by committee, right? Whether for good or for bad. I don't think Michelle will be their candidate.
Yeah, I don't think that could happen either. I mean, he's not really in the mix for all that. But
she doesn't see she doesn't like it either, right?
Yeah.
She's not. You don't see her hanging on Barack's shoulder all the time anymore either, right? Because she's gotten past that. She's another stage of her life, and the cloying, the pawing on you all the time, right? You never really get out of politics, right? And I think she's not interested in this, and she knows that she doesn't have the command of policy or the speaking ability or any of that. She would be a non-competitive candidate. I don't think the Democrats understand, right, how badly they would lose if they did that.
Yeah, I mean, we had all that time with Barack and Michelle. She carved her own path, and it was different than Barack. It was different than President Obama. And I think you're right. I mean, I just don't think that she wants to get into this game. It is so vicious and so vile, at this point. That look, she and Barack Obama, they're doing their Netflix stuff. They're making plenty of money, and they're having a good life. And why ruin that by jumping into this arena, right?
Right.
At this point,
you're as revered now as you would have any hope to be as president, without all the traffic, without all the yakking and opposition and duties. I mean, it's a hard job.
Right. She's already kind of like up here. She runs for president no matter what happens. She winds up getting knocked down several notches, and it takes time to go back to where but you go out while you're on top, basically, and then it happens with every president virtually. Is that their stature increases after they leave office, even if they were popular, it goes higher. If they were low, it moves up. I mean, Nixon got rehabilitated. So we saw Carter, right? All these things happen to these people. So there makes no sense for her to jump in. There are definitely people who got an eye on the prize, but they were looking at 2028, not 2024. And I think the Democrats, I think there's a way too much panicking going on their part. Just like you said, the process is in. Just go with it. Let it roll and see what happens. Maybe they'll get wiped out. Maybe it'll be a close race. Because one of the questions that I asked was just that we talked before about how at this stage most of the voters have already made a decision. So how much sway does that bad debate performance sway anything? Just keep.
You are exactly right. So I've been watching. I watched the polling really closely, and Trump's getting about 2 points out of this. It's like things have moved from 3 to 5, 5 to 7. Whatever it was before, it's moved up about 2 points. His daily track on Rasmussen, he was at 43. Biden was at 43 today. He was at 45 yesterday. He was at 44 yesterday, 45 the day before. So 45. That was with Monday. That was with 2 of the 3 days were after the debate, right? So that's Thursday, Friday, Monday rolling average. So it did 2 of the 3 days did not bring it down at all, right? And then the next 2 days it brought it down 1 point each. And if you look at I don't know what they're going to do today, but they're marching on the White House to get another candidate. I think they're way premature with that, and they're going to regret it.
Yeah. So I'm thinking just how it's all worked out for them. Yeah, in the long run. I mean, look, the convention comes up with the Republicans soon. Then the Democrats have theirs. There'll be a little bit of a bounce, but then that'll probably recede, and we go back to the norm. The Wall Street Journal interviewed several people this past week. Most of them had voted for Biden, but some of them were leaning Trump. But the problem was that even after the debate, even with their concerns, they just couldn't vote for Trump. They were having a hard time. They still may, but they were having a hard time. So even with a bad debate performance, it wasn't necessarily taking a Biden person out of that vote. The chances are that most of those people will still vote for Biden, and they'll be crossing their fingers hoping for the best.
The people who are genuinely undecided, that was a rough night for Biden, right? But if you look at this thing, one of the things that's changing in these polls though is, it was 43 to 39, now it's 50 to 47, 49, 46, right? Same 3 or 4 point lead, but we're now up by 50%, right? And once you get to 50%, you don't need late mail-in ballots. You don't need, undecideds and independents, right? You've got your majority without any of those people breaking your way. And some of them are going to break your way, right? Some of those people who didn't see themselves voting for Trump 6 months or 6 weeks or 6 days ago are now thinking that they might well vote for Trump, right? Because you're literally looking down that's third or fourth year of this upcoming administration, and you're seeing nobody's in charge, no problems can be solved, very vulnerable on the world stage, which you're already seeing. The other thing is, Biden, they have this meeting today, and they lay the wood on Biden, and he decides to drop out. He's okay, I'm not gonna run for president. Okay, what happens next? Does he stay president now? Or does he get out and give Kamala some incumbency advantage? I don't see Jill going for giving up all this today or tomorrow or anytime soon. Right. I could be wrong. But if he stays in, he's an albatross. And if he gets out, then it's Trump versus Kamala and her regally incompetent administration, right? You basically have Doug Emhoff running the country. So, I don't know. I don't know what they do there, and neither choice looks good, but I think that the election is slipping away from them. I think they realize that.
Yeah. So does that sound better?
Yeah.
Okay. I switched mics. What happened here? The thing too is that Biden created this problem by picking Kamala to begin with, right? She wasn't a qualified VP. And so as a result,
and this was, the thing about this is you got to remember, back then he was talking about being, I'm the transition, I'm the bridge to the next generation and all that. Serve my one term, get some new leaders in here and start on the next phase of America, right? Remember? That was what he was saying he was going to do. And then he picked somebody he cannot hand it off to at a moment when he needs to be able to hand it off to.
Right. So they're in a situation where this whole DEI administration has boxed them in.
That's right.
Right. You put a diversity hire in there basically as a VP. Person of color, VP like that.
He said it's going to be a black woman. So you got yourself down to 6% of the population.
Yeah.
Right.
He panders for that slice of America, and that's it. And now they're in trouble. And they look to like, but we can't go with her. I mean, there's Democrats pressuring donors. If Joe's got to stay, otherwise the money's going to go to Kamala and all this stuff. There's a ton of people that don't. They're Biden supporters. They're not Kamala
supporters. Exactly. And it's not clear that there's a whole lot of money out there behind being a Kamala supporter, right? That's pretty much a dead letter thing. So the other thing is like, at the same time this debate foreclosed one escape route for them. The courts have foreclosed the others, right? So they're not going to have lawfare. There's not going to be another trial of Trump. There's a good chance, a very good chance that the conviction he has will be overturned because the acts that he was accused of doing fall under presidential immunity. So that's likely to get thrown out. I think they kind of knew it would get thrown out all along. They wanted this 2 or 3 months of being able to say that he was a convicted felon, to just keep repeating that line. 34 felonies, 34 felonies. How can you vote for somebody? Why don't we kick him out of the race because he has 34 felonies we made up, we conjured crimes to do or whatever. So, that's gone. He has immunity to almost, everything that's within the presidential thing. And the Chief Justice went to the trouble to say, and talking to Mike Pence about this is well within presidential duties, so don't go there. So, he's going to get out of that. I'm not sure what's left of either of Jack Smith's cases with the 1522 gone. He can't make that into a felony on Trump, and now he's immune from most of the rest of it. I don't really know what they do. I think if I was Biden and if Biden survives this putsch that's going on today, I would start thinking about dropping those charges, right? Just saying, let's have a fair race. It shouldn't be about charges that people disagree on, and the courts have, by Trump's evil conservative court has freed him of that anyway. So let's just get down to the issues and fight it out. And then you'd have to say, okay, he's a big man. He took away his own chance to prosecute Trump. But, they're not going to get him on any of this stuff. None of these trials are going to take place before the election. After the election, Trump's president. None of the federal trials will. The lady in Georgia is obviously in a lot of trouble, and things are getting worse for her. They've gotten worse for her in the last week. She has been sanctioned over another case. They have, I guess she had a judge down there that was beating up cops. And they got fired. They fired her. So, Georgia, Fulton County Courthouse is a mess, as we've long known.
Yeah, the whole thing is just kind of interesting and just so upside down. I mean, I saw something from Pelosi, where she was defending Biden and basically accusing Trump of having dementia, right?
Yeah.
Right. But now
he outsmarted you, Nancy. Yeah. He schooled you for 4 years.
Saying that asking the age question, the legitimate question. So she's backtracked a lot, saying that she's apparently very concerned about this because you look at looking at what's happened here in this past, just less than a week here now. That you've got Lloyd Dodge, you've got Golden, you've got a couple of congressmen, coming out there. I think you're going to see more. I think it's former Congressman Tim Ryan has said he's got to go. James Carville, has come out, and so
America's best dressed pundit, James Carville.
Yeah. There are things like this that happen. They're building up. You're mentioning this other meeting that's occurring today too. Where you've got concerned Democrats. We've got to figure this out because the media now is realizes that they're cover up fake. They've got everybody what happened. So they're asking questions, and the White House can have a satisfactory answer to this. I mean, what's this? The trip overseas. I was tired, and I had a cold. Come on. That was not
and over prepared. So there's three. The person is, I think Chris Salisa even made the point. It's like, settle on an excuse and ride that excuse. If you keep offering me a different excuse every day, then I know that the previous excuses were nonsense, right?
Right. Exactly right. It's like okay, so it's a cold. not really sure exactly how that figures into things. But then they're starting to say, well, it was like jet lag or whatever.
Yeah, you've been back 12 days. How long do you get to have jet lag?
I mean, it's yeah. And they prepared him for like a week or whatever. So it's not like he came back from a 2-week trip and then had a day and a half to prepare and do all this. It wasn't a compressed timeline at all.
No, he basically took a week off of his job to prepare for this moment and then completely flubbed it.
Yeah, I mean, what does Trump's debate prep look like?
Well, Trump did some debate prep. You could tell that he half listened to what was going on. He did have some talking points. He did have some arranged things he was going to say to these questions. A lot of it, some of it was stuff out of his stump speeches, but some of it wasn't. His energy questions and so forth. It was he riffed, right? That's the other thing is like Trump can riff. You can talk to Trump about these things. World leaders can walk up to him at a gathering and they can say, "What do you think about this?" And he doesn't need any note cards. He doesn't need some aide to run up and tell him what he thinks, right? He knows what he thinks. So, I mean, it's just the mental acuity edge. One guy is really sharp and rarely sleeps and spends all his time cramming information into his head and seeking input. The other thing about Trump is, and Tom Davis was like this, and I think all these people at the top of this probably are. Trump is constantly on the phone, right? When he's not in front of things, he's talking to people, asking questions, trying to learn stuff. Tom Davis, the whole time I worked for him, anytime, hey Tom, what, right? Because he was talking to somebody on that phone. He'd deal with your question, but it was constant contact with supporters, with donors, with other members of Congress, all kinds of stuff that he was doing, because these are busy jobs and they're very interconnected, and you need tons and tons and tons of information. You must approach it every day from a how much info can I gather standpoint.
Yeah, I know they're hard jobs. All right, so I'm going to switch gears. I do want to talk about what's happening overseas. We've
more good news for conservatives.
Yeah, so I mean, in France they had the first round of parliamentary elections, and where Emmanuel Macron called for these elections, and they went terribly wrong. I mean, his party has finished third in that first round, and so that means he's in big trouble going forward, because when they have the second round, which I think will just be in about 4 days, I believe, the chances are that he's going to wind up with just a handful of seats. He stays the president. But it's a good chance that Marine Le Pen and her National Rally Party will be able to choose the prime minister. Her right-hand man, 28-year-old guy. And all of a sudden, there'll be this big shift. I mean, the left is also taking a chunk out of this, but it could be this, Le Pen, some of the left, and very little Macron people, settling. I don't know. Macron was going to have to leave office until what? 2027 or something like that.
Something like that. But he's going to have no power. He'll be ceremonial after this.
Yeah, well, he'll be totally handcuffed by the fact that he's lost all this power.
Right. The other thing is, European Union is taking a sharp turn to the right. The people actually, elected to the European Congress. It's not really what they call it. I can't think. European Parliament. That's right. From France, England, Spain, others, all sharp right turns. Obviously, and the only prime minister in Western Europe who's not under this kind of fire is Italy, where they already had a conservative in power, right? So I mean, it is Rishi Sunak will soon be a voice out of the past, because he was not sufficiently conservative. I think that one of the stories about this is getting missed on our side of the pond is that what's making these people so unpopular is global warming. Right, their green policies, they have totally handcuffed their countries and destroyed their economies over dangers that they can't really describe. So, and that the people do not sense. So, the bureaucrats got it out in front of that. That's one of the reasons that I'm so happy about the Chevron decision this week. They got rid of the Chevron doctrine. Is like we are in the United States. We are taking power out of the hands of unelected Democrats, bureaucrats. Many are Democrats. Freudian slip, but and put it back into the hands of the people we vote for. So that we don't like what they do, we can vote them out.
Yeah, I mean, look, go back to Merkel. She really screwed Germany over. Schultz gets in there, and he's got a problem. All this energy stuff that they did, trying to go green, completely backfired on. That's what.
When they started getting the electoral signals that this was going to happen, they doubled down. They're like, we're going to go even harder green. So now Germany is like one of the most energy dependent countries in the world now.
Yeah, at least Macron kept nuclear power plants going. Right. He did that. That's on his part. But Merkel totally just kind of screwed her own country there. Thinking that they fall in love with this. I mean, the whole Greta Thunberg, all this activism. We have to do this, and we've seen this in Europe, and we've seen it in the U.S. The green energy stuff blows up in your face. It doesn't work as a national policy. But yeah, Rishi Sunak. This is really a shame. 14 years of Tory rule are coming to an end. And they're going to come to a crashing end because they're going to get so wiped out that it's going to be embarrassing. For them. And who knows how long it'll take them to recover. The Labour Party, they're not great. They could screw up enough that the Tories.
Will they get full control though, right? Like Nigel Farage's party have enough votes to kind of block Labour.
Farage
is such a wild card kind of people. He attracts a certain number of people, but he's not widely. So that'll be a problem, for them. Great Britain, got a lot of issues. Not only just electoral, they're having issues with the royal family and the illnesses that are kind of also. The royal family's a big deal. It's unfortunate that Kate and King Charles, having very health problems. So there's just a lot of bad news out of the UK.
Right.
So
I don't think that Labor is going to be able to pounce on this all that hard because their strength is reduced too.
Yeah, look. I don't think that Keir Starmer is. I don't think he's Tony Blair. Okay. Tony Blair was kind of a charismatic labor leader. And after that, they come apart. And Keir Starmer's trying to revive the Labour Party. He's better than the other people recently, but I don't think that guy that leads them long term. I could be really wrong here. But Labour. I think their policy will come back to bite them what they do, and people will eventually come back to the Tories. Once the Tories try to get their act together.
Right. They had some people that were, they got into the situation the Democrats are in. Like their policy program may not be all that unpopular, but they don't really have anybody to carry the torch for it. So
right. And you're mentioning about all the right is doing well. I didn't see the story. My wife looking at stuff, and she was saying that Argentina had 0% inflation last month.
Yeah,
that is amazing.
Yeah, and they're the 40% of the federal workforce is gone too.
Right. There's a lot of heat from the left, right, for this. But Millet, he came in there, he said he was going to do something, he was going to shake things up. And he's shaking things up.
Yeah, and the one that we have not mentioned is Canada.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Canada, the Trudeau's party is behind in every district. They're behind all over Canada, and they're looking at an historic wipeout. And I no one deserves it more than those guys. Then I guess it'll be Poilievre. You say it, Pierre Poilievre will be the next prime minister.
Yeah, I don't.
Still looking that way. The guy with the apple. Have you watched the apple? Yeah.
You know,
that's a great interview. You have to watch that.
You got to say one thing about elections outside the United States. They are interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parliamentary things going on. It creates a whole different thing, and so you get a lot of variation in candidates. Much more so than you have here.
That's right.
So all right. In the remaining time we have, let's go back to SCOTUS. You mentioned the Chevron Duffel. That is a huge decision. The liberals and the left are going crazy. Ann Gorsuch was key. Right? Wasn't she the administrator?
Yeah, EPA administrator.
Yeah. At the time. So you've got her son on the Supreme Court saying, we got to get rid of this thing.
Yeah.
It is going to upend a lot of things. But you got to think about this.
I think Ann Gorsuch was actually the administrator when, they said that Chevron had not sufficiently cleaned up the oil field in Ecuador, right? I think it was under her EPA, and so they go to so he really is cleaning up his mom's mess.
Yeah. No. So I don't know how you really find a lot of fault with this, unless you're a liberal, because you're just basically saying, why should the government agencies make these decisions? Why should these decisions not be left to the court to sort out the legal issues? Because what we've seen the last 40 years is the agencies making up a ton of rules to say this is how it's going to be. And
after 6 feet separation, I don't want to hear any more about agency expertise. Got zero more for you, buddy. You can prove it in the court of public opinion like everyone else. The other one is, you saw the decision, Jarkazi, I believe it was called. The case was called, where Jarkazi. The SEC had its own little. The Securities Exchange Commission had its own little court system, right, where they choose somebody they don't like and they can indict them, try them, get them, force them out of the business, put them in jail without ever any due process whatsoever. And the court said that that's out. So basically, the court is saying the people's elected representatives is who's going to run the country, and of course, the Democrats cannot. They're counting on this extra army of people, of allies inside of government, to stem, the ideas of the other side, right? That's why they're mad about Chevron, because that that diminishes their power. They're mad about this Starkazy, and they're mad about Trump's plan, the 2025 thing. And I don't know how closely all this is connected to Trump. I hear different things every day about that, but I'm talking about the Schedule F employees. So I don't think people understand what a big deal that is. So Schedule F is the people that are right below political appointees. And a lot of them touch a lot of policy, can make a lot of policy decisions, have, boss power basically over many, many federal employees and federal resources and so forth. They decide how these things get spent, right? But they're not, they don't have to be aligned with the president, right? So what Trump's saying is, if I'm elected president, I should be able to have people in those positions who want to carry out my policies. If my policies are not popular, then we lose the next election, right? But the policies that the people who won the election want should be the policies implemented. Yeah. I think that's, I think once Americans see this in practice, they will like it a lot better.
Well, this decision Trump win the election. This is great for Trump. It's great if the Republicans maintain control of the House and gain control. the Biden administration has just thrown out. They've been making rule after rule after rule. I mean, Lena Khan run crazy wild.
Right.
So this is a way to rein these nutcases in. You just can't make up all these rules all the time. And and
you're not who we chose to make the rules. You work with them. You're close to their stuff, but we didn't really choose you. We chose them. So they either own the rule changes or the rule changes don't happen.
Right.
I think if you make the rules accountable to the American people, the rules will look a lot different.
Yeah. So the result of the Supreme Court term is that we've got AOC to
impeach them, and everybody wants 15 justices because we didn't get our way out of 9, and none of that's going to happen. The Democrats, they only talk to each other, so they don't really understand like what America thinks. But and I know that in American history, the size of the court has not always been 9 justices. But I think that is as bad a political non-starter as you can imagine. That we don't like the decision, so let's grow the court.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's so your kids can get out of bed.
They're not necessarily for that, but all right. So what do we have? One thing you had on there, the Astros have got to 500. And they got one game over 500, and I think they're back to actual 500 because they lost last night. But, it's been quite a run. And the interesting thing about it is they're doing it without a lot of their best players. They have massive injury problems, especially with their pitchers, but a lot of their fielders, too. So there's a lot of people that, the Astro fans had never heard their names this time last year who are now getting them back into this race. So that's been pretty cool. This is my favorite holiday. I love the 4th. There's no cards, there's no presents, there's no wearing uncomfortable clothes. Right? It's not cold. You can be outside. Everybody enjoys it. I just hate it when the left dumps on the 4th of July. It's like, if you want me to ever think about supporting you, quit dumping on the 4th of July. It's the world's best holiday.
All right. Yeah. We're about to hit 248. Right?
Yeah.
Tomorrow. So a couple years away from 250. Yeah. So, as I always say, we need to make the least country in the world, right?
That's right.
And anybody forget it. This is why. Independence Day was the time for us to celebrate and remember. What the country makes this country great. It's great to see people gathered together to celebrate
that idea. And we disagree with those other guys a lot.
Yeah.
But we have a means of settling that argument without violence that has held for 248 years. And, if we'll keep honoring it, we'll keep watering those plants, they will grow another 248 years.
All right. Good. Time to remember the founding fathers and everything else that's happened. So anyway, it's not just about fireworks.
It's not just about fireworks.
All right, everyone. Thanks again for joining us. Like I said before, and I'll say, we do live in the greatest world. Do not tell you otherwise. Stay safe, stay well, and as always, bless America. We will see you again next week. Hopefully, get the audio.